Sitting these timber hangers right here, and they're fastened to this 2x10 right here, which is called a ledger board. But what I don't see is any mechanical fasteners through the ledger holding the deck to the house.
Ever since This Old House hit the screens and eventually evolved into Ask This Old House, one name that has stood out to both homeowners and DIY fans alike is Tom Silva. From tackling major construction work to simple renovations, Tom always has an answer. And watching him turn home ideas into actual masterpieces is always a treat. It's hard not to admire Tom's brilliance when he shares tips that home improvement enthusiasts can easily follow. Though millions have seen him in action since the 1980s, not everyone knows what life looks like for Tom when the cameras aren't rolling. So, what's Tom Silva up to these days? Could there be more exciting ventures he's exploring beyond the show? Let's take a moment to truly understand where his journey has led him. First things first, who exactly is Tom Silva? Born on January 17, 1947, in the heart of Lexington, Massachusetts, Tom seemed fated to enter the world of construction. Raised in a family that deeply valued craftsmanship, it didn't take long before Tom found his place in the trade. With a builder for a father and both his mother and grandmother skilled with their hands as seamstresses, Tom grew up in a bustling, hands-on environment. One of his earliest memories includes tagging along with his dad, just a toddler with a hammer, trying his best to pitch in, even if it meant accidentally making a mess. He looked forward to summer breaks, which he spent working alongside his father on various home projects. As one of 5 boys, there was never a shortage of things to build or repair, and the family home in Massachusetts was filled with shared laughter, sawdust, and endless energy. Tom didn't waste any time after school. He immediately dove into the family's construction business. Along with his brothers, he was already quite skilled, like young professionals in hard hats, shaping wood and laying bricks like seasoned pros. One of their most memorable adventures involved a historical home they lived in, an old colonial built in 1787. Inspired by Cold War fears, the boys, with curiosity and courage, began building a fallout shelter underneath it. Despite their limited experience, they tackled the project head-on, hoping their makeshift bunker would provide some protection if disaster ever struck. Fortunately, they never had to use it, but the process sparked something bigger in Tom and his nephew Charles. The joy of creating that shelter didn't end there. Fueled by the success and satisfaction of that early project, Tom and Charles decided to turn their shared passion into something official. That dream led them to establish Silva Brothers Construction, a company that would go on to build more than just homes. It built a legacy. Taking on the role of chief at a construction site seemed like a natural fit for Tom, especially since he grew up surrounded by tradespeople. From childhood memories of swinging his dad's hammer to landing his first big opportunity on This Old House, Tom's path has always been about building. Though he's willing to experiment with innovative materials and tools, Tom remains deeply loyal to time-honored techniques. His admiration for long-lasting craftsmanship fuels his passion as a general contractor and gives him great pride in revisiting the homes he built long ago with his children. Tom's connection to This Old House started right in his own neighborhood, living next to Russ Morash, the visionary behind the show. The Silva Brothers construction firm, Tom's partnership with his brother, first gained attention after assembling the original set for the Victory Garden. Initially, Russ reached out to Tom with the idea of collaborating, but Tom politely declined due to a packed schedule. Not one to give up easily, Russ later brought the production crew directly to one of Tom's job sites for a more personal pitch. That unexpected visit sparked Tom's interest in television, and soon he found himself intrigued by the potential to teach through the screen. Today, he values his involvement with both This Old House and Ask This Old House, finding real joy in sharing his knowledge with viewers. The appreciation he gets from fans, especially those who approach him to say thank you, means more to him than words can express. When he's not on set or a job site, Tom enjoys spending time woodworking in his shop or relaxing out on his boat. That moment of curiosity turned into a key role, and Tom soon became one of the show's most indispensable contributors. Beyond his on-screen presence, Tom regularly contributes written pieces to This Old House magazine and other well-known publications. The original concept of the show was actually centered more around gardening and outdoor projects than construction. The Victory Garden began with James Underwood Crockett hosting, and following his passing, Bob Thompson stepped in to continue the mission. Their main purpose was to guide viewers in growing better gardens, offering insight into planting, pruning, and pest control. With time, the show broadened its focus and began featuring demonstrations on potting and other horticultural tips. Tom and Bob also began welcoming expert guests onto the show, introducing fresh perspectives and skills to the audience. Viewers got to see personalities like Jamie Dury, Michael Weon, and Roger Swain bring their expertise to the screen. The show wrapped its most recent run between 2013 and 2015, closing a chapter that left a lasting impression. Partnering with Edible Communities, the show earned its place as a pioneer in American television gardening. Running for a remarkable 36 seasons, Silva Brothers Construction was a fixture from 1975 all the way through 2015. Season 42 launched on October 4, 2020, bringing fans back into the fold, and concluding on June 6, 2021. By then, this old house had evolved into more than just a show. It had become a powerful brand with spin-offs, a dedicated website, and a print magazine. Throughout its long run, the series picked up an impressive 17 Emmy Awards, solidifying its place in television history. One especially memorable renovation was that of the Weatherby Farm in Westwood, which sparked debate between hosts over design choices. Interestingly, not many fans are aware that Tom used to sew and even stitched outfits for his daughter during her early school days. Back in the late 1980s, Tom exchanged vows with Susan Silva, beginning a lifelong bond that has stood strong for more than 3 decades. Over the years, they've welcomed 2 children, Kate and TJ, and settled into a beautiful, time-worn home dating back to the 1800s, nestled in a Boston suburb. Despite the home's rich past, Tom injects modern flair with his exceptional skills in do-it-yourself projects. Serving as the lead carpenter on the show, Tom dove headfirst into impressive makeovers and construction efforts that kept viewers coming back for more. With seasoned hands and a clear approach, he broke down complex construction methods in a way that felt simple and accessible. Home improvement enthusiasts took note of the endless wisdom and practical knowledge Tom consistently delivered. Being a member of both This Old House and Ask This Old House brings Tom a deep sense of joy and fulfillment. He's always glad to lend a hand or offer advice when there's an opportunity to educate or inspire someone. When a fan approaches with words of appreciation, Tom genuinely feels the impact of the work he's poured into his craft. What really set Tom apart was his talent for breathing life into worn-out properties, turning them into architectural gems. One of his standout renovations was the Carlisle House, an old farmhouse from the 1820s that was falling apart when he arrived. Tom and his team went all in, reinforcing the base, upgrading the roof, and somehow restoring that vintage appeal. Another jaw-dropping transformation was a compact arts and crafts home in Arlington, which Tom reimagined into an open, eco-conscious retreat. By fixing the bones of the structure, adding a new dormer, and including sustainable upgrades, he gave the space a whole new identity. The Lexington Bed and Breakfast project will always be remembered as a shining example of Tom's dedication and precision. He gave the place new life, painstakingly fixing original wood details, refurbishing doors and windows, and breathing elegance into the guest areas. Unlike many renovation shows that steer clear of complicated scenarios, This Old House takes on those difficult situations with confidence. In one particularly challenging episode, the crew had to figure out how to meet code requirements for electrical outlets in a kitchen, mostly made of glass. Because the walls were dominated by windows, standard outlet placement wasn't an option, and that's where the team had to get creative. Host Kevin O'Connor posed the big question: how do you fit outlets when there's no available wall space? Electrician Heath Eastman stepped in with a clever fix, installing retractable receptacles that discreetly pop up from the countertop. Homeowner Sunil hesitated at first, not loving the idea of altering the minimalist aesthetic of the counters. He admitted, "If it were up to me, I'd keep the surface spotless, but the regulations are there for a reason." Moments like these reflect the true spirit of This Old House. Not drama, but collaboration and shared learning between pros and homeowners. What makes this show truly unique is how it brings in seasoned pros like Eastman to share their wisdom with viewers across the country. Rather than keeping the spotlight solely on the finished product, this old house keeps the crew visible and engaged, because let's face it, without them, the work wouldn't even get started. Tom offers some invaluable advice for homeowners who are about to take on a full home makeover. Begin with something manageable. Instead of jumping into the deep end, he advises taking on one small room at a time and bringing it to completion before expanding the project. He emphasizes handling every element in that room: renovation, painting, final details, and furniture, until it's fully complete. Once that's finished, he suggests celebrating with a bottle of wine in the corner and simply soaking it all in before moving on. When the stress of the overall project starts creeping in, Tom says you can return to that space for motivation and clarity. He explains that many homeowners get overwhelmed by trying to take on everything at once, which often leads to burnout, or worse, an unfinished home. Tom also pointed out a common dilemma. Everyone wants top-tier materials, but most budgets can't stretch that far. Instead of cutting corners on invisible essentials, he stresses investing wisely in key structural components like windows, insulation, HVAC, and the home's skeleton. Choosing to spend more on things like the foundation and siding may not seem glamorous, but it pays off with long-term comfort and savings. In discussing the evolution of home construction, Tom noted that despite new technology, older lumber used to be much sturdier. Because today's wood comes from younger trees, it absorbs moisture faster, which leads to problems like failing trim. Tom recommended modern alternatives like manufactured trims from Boral or Azek, which tend to offer greater durability. However, he warned that even top-quality materials won't hold up if the preparation work isn't done properly from the start. As he put it, no matter how expensive your paint is, it won't stand the test of time if you don't apply it correctly. If you've watched enough home renovation shows, you've likely noticed that most of the credit goes to the hosts, not the tradespeople behind the scenes. And when those hardworking experts do show up, it's usually in a fast-cut clip showing them darting around mid-task. Often, their efforts are minimized. Just quick glimpses of them hammering, lifting, or painting before the scene cuts back to the host. Take Windy City Rehab, for example. You might think it's about home makeovers in Chicago, but it mostly follows the star, Allison Victoria. You'll see her front and center, especially in promotional shots where she's wielding a sledgehammer with confidence. Victoria has carved a space for herself in a male-dominated field, and her house-flipping style definitely stands out. Meanwhile, the skilled construction crew gets only passing appearances, especially during those fast-paced renovation montages. This isn't exclusive to Victoria's show. It's a wider trend across renovation TV, where tradespeople rarely get the recognition they deserve. This lack of visibility might even be discouraging young viewers from considering a path in the trades. The U.S. is currently experiencing a major shortage of skilled labor, and that's due to several intersecting factors. Contributing to the problem are the lingering effects of the Great Recession, and a wave of retirements among seasoned workers, and a decline in blue-collar interest among high school graduates. As reported by the Washington Post, it's a complex issue, but the media's portrayal of trades could be part of the puzzle. After all, who wants to pursue a career where you're barely seen while someone else takes all the credit? Contrary to many shows, this old house makes a point to shine the spotlight on its team, especially the younger apprentices. Which brings us to the story of Tom Silva, whose journey to fame is closely tied to the show's growing popularity. Now, when it comes to his success, it's important to understand how the series helped elevate his career. People often wonder about Tom's financial standing, and that's understandable, given part of his earnings stem from his appearances on television. But TV isn't his only stream of income. He continues to leverage his craftsmanship in other personal ventures. What fans will be glad to hear is that Tom is still deeply involved in the show as a general contractor. Since first stepping into the spotlight in 1986, Tom has remained a crucial part of the crew. Although the team has undergone some changes, its foundational charm hasn't been lost over the decades. Bob Vila originally led the program before Steve Thomas stepped in back in 1989. Eventually, in 2003, Steve handed the role over to Kevin O'Connor, who continues to host the show today. Longtime viewers may still recall Norm Abram, the master carpenter, who left the show in 2022. As of 2024, Tom Silva's net worth is believed to be around $2.5 million. Even though things seem to be going smoothly for Tom, life threw a painful curveball his way. For the first time in its 21-year history, this old house took on a special rebuild, one with deep personal ties. The house in question belonged to none other than Tom's own brother, contractor Dick Silva. Unlike the usual home updates, this particular project came after a devastating fire incident. Located in Billerica, Massachusetts, the home was engulfed in flames on March 9, 1999, and had to be reconstructed from the bottom up. Despite Norm Abram's aversion to fire-damaged homes, the team felt this project held special meaning. On the season's opening episode, which aired October 2nd, viewers watched Tom face the heartbreaking aftermath. This wasn't just another job. Tom had been involved in countless projects for his brother over 3 decades. The fire became a major event, requiring the response of 7 fire engines from 3 neighboring towns. For 5 long hours, firefighters battled the blaze as Dick Silva stood outside, devastated. In the biting chill, friends and family, including Tom and another brother John, huddled together in support. By 4:30 p.m., the last flames were finally extinguished, but the emotional damage had already been done. While everyone survived, their beloved dog Penny, a 7-year-old Shar-Pei, wasn't so lucky. She tried escaping through the pet door, but her fur was singed and her lungs filled with thick smoke. The home that Dick and his wife Sandra had lived in for 32 years and raised 3 daughters in was ruined. From the basement to the rooftop, every inch of the house had been destroyed beyond repair. As the sun rose, the scene resembled the aftermath of an explosion. Chunks of the rear roof had vanished, glass lay scattered from destroyed windows, and twisted strips of vinyl clung like wilted leaves. Inside, the top floor had partially crashed down, crushing parts of the floor beneath it. Amid the smoky rubble, heartbreaking fragments appeared: a scorched ceramic carousel horse and melted miniature cars, pieces from a once lively home filled with treasured train sets, ticking clocks, and vintage tools. Later that same day, while clearing out soggy debris in the basement, firefighter Al Milani from the Byler Fire Department made a crucial observation. He discovered the blaze originated near the heating unit, though the exact spark remained unclear. He suspected the flames lingered quietly for over an hour before drawing any attention. Director Russ Marash later observed that the area's biggest issue is its daytime emptiness. No neighbors were close enough to respond. That meant no one heard alarms or spotted anything until things were already too far gone. Eventually, someone walking by noticed the chimney puffing smoke and alerted authorities. Thankfully, the home and its entire contents were fully covered under replacement insurance. To handle the insurance maze, Dick and Sandra brought in a public adjuster to assess damage and handle claims. They're confident they'll recover the full value of what was lost. It's not an easy journey, Dick explained, but it's one we have to take. He recalled his downstairs workshop alone held around $36,000 worth of tools before the fire struck. Since then, the remains of the house have been removed, and construction has begun on a new version of their home. Architect Chris Demas, part of the team, dubbed the fresh design Folk Victorian in style. They've poured a solid new foundation, added siding, and are preparing to install a new roof. Over the decades, Tom has brought his creative talents to countless personal and meaningful projects. From turning twisted wood into delicate bowls to carving cookie jars out of reclaimed beams, he's made some memorable pieces. He's also crafted rattles, holiday decorations, table legs with flair, and even a hand-shaped baseball bat. He didn't stop there. He also made a proposal ring and the elegant wooden box it came in. Now that he's approaching 80, some folks are starting to ask whether he'll pass the torch soon. Whatever comes next, Tom's work has touched hearts and homes across the globe. His advice feels like it comes from a close friend, and he lights up the screen with a warmth that's hard to describe.